and I've become like more visible than I ever could have imagined wanting to be. Like when I wanted to hide, I had the courage to be visible.
And there's a moment where Lindsay reaches her hand to you, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I won't cry right now just thinking of it. Yeah.
What kind of life, a charmed life, am I living that I just get to, for my job, go and set other women free?
Welcome back to the Mapuana Reed Show. Today we have my girl Elyssa Smith. I'm so excited to share her journey with you all, and I am going to actually let her tell you about her journey. There's this thing that I absolutely love. It's called the Journey on Becoming. I call it The Job, and she's going to take us on her journey.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure.
Thank you for being here, girl. I just love everything that you're doing.
Thank you so
and
much.
all the fabulous things.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me all the things that you're doing.
How long do you have?
Oh, I know, right?
Everyone pull up a seat, get a cup of tea.
Yeah.
No, so I am a trauma-informed life strategist. And what I get to do for my job is to help female founders and CEOs, women who own businesses, to unblock themselves from their next level. So we work mindset, we work inner child work, and I get to actually help them hack their survival brain so they can get out of survival mode and unleash their best revenue, their best life, their best freedom. And it's a really fun thing I get to do. So I recently did a TEDx talk, and that consumed me for a long time. And so once I was done, then I was kind of free to move on to the next things. But I love working with my clients. I homeschool my son. I live in Indiana in like the middle of a cornfield, and we have a really great little life together there. So that's what I do when I'm not working with my clients.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, because I already know a little bit about you, so I want you to take the clients on your job, on your journey on becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So take me back to who you were, who you are now, and all the in between.
Oh man. Okay. So I'll try and make this a bite-sized version. So in childhood, I was a happy kid, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I went through my life trying to make everyone else happy so that
Yeah.
I could be peaceful and happy. So that meant people pleasing. It meant, putting things off, procrastinating when I thought I might not do it perfectly, really being hard on myself for so much of my life. And I really didn't think well of myself, despite what I showed to the world as a really high achiever. So when I became an adult, I walked into a relationship where the person that I married, kind of with their behavior, showed that they also did not value me for what I was really worth. And I didn't know that that was a problem. I was so used to tolerating behavior that was not okay to tolerate that I just kind of accepted that this is what it was. And then when I had my son, I went through multiple types of trauma. And I had been through therapy before, but I had never worked on trauma. And I didn't classify myself as someone who had been through trauma. I now look back and realize I've experienced a lot of different types of trauma in my life. Because we kind of think, there are different kinds of trauma. There's big T trauma, which is commonly recognized. We all think of, a big accident or, something really terrible happens. It's violent, it's an attack. And then there's a lesser known type of trauma called little t trauma. And little t trauma is something that is not violent, but is still significantly disturbing, like losing a pet or bullying in school. And then I have my own version of another type of trauma that I classify as tiny t trauma. And this is the specific type of trauma that leads to things like procrastination and self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, because they're little tiny beliefs that get in there, they get implanted in us. When we have those, we think, I'm just a procrastinator. I'm just a perfectionist. That's just what I do. Everything.
I'm just a people pleaser.
I'm just a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as everyone else is kind of the belief we carry. So then we tolerate things from other people that we should never tolerate. So when I had my son and I went through all this trauma, I had a wake-up call because I was realizing that the relationship I was in, which there was, some addiction, some unfaithfulness, different things, I just really realized there was one thing that happened that just was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I remember just looking at my son and thinking, what am I going to tell everyone? Because my focus was still so much on my image. And really what I felt like I had to contribute to society was that perfect image that I projected. And I didn't know that the things that were imperfect inside were also a true part of me.
Like you were still worried, like even though you knew that you needed to get out, but you were still worried of everyone else instead of
Absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I did it all wrong. I felt I mean my brain, your survival brain, it's the right brain. And I mean, I'm so grateful for my journey. I always say I wouldn't choose this path, but I also wouldn't change it because what I learned, I had just become certified as a coach at this time of my life where I went through all the trauma with my son and all the different stuff, and then made the decision to actually leave the relationship as it was and fly back across the country to stay with my family. And it set me on this whole other journey. It's like, if you've ever seen the movie Sliding Doors,
Yes.
where
Yep.
just she misses, the door closes in front of her, and
Mm-hmm.
then you see what would happen either way if she had made the train or not made the train.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of those moments for me because it felt like I might not do it. It felt like I might not leave. And the fact that I did, I still marvel. It's still amazing to me that I made that choice because what that then empowered me to do and gave me the confidence to do after, to build my business, to think that maybe life could be easier and better and less painful, to think that maybe I could help my son who was going through a lot of his own emotional issues due to the situation we were in, and all of those beautiful things that I thought maybe possibly could maybe happen have happened, and I've become like more visible than I ever could have imagined wanting to be. Like when I wanted to hide, I had the courage to be visible. When I wanted to kind of pull back, I had the courage to heal and to explore what was in front of me. So it's all about what your right brain is doing to try and stop you from something that seems unknown. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know how to work with it, there's no stopping you.
Mm-hmm. What are some things that people can do to like just some simple basic things that people
Absolutely.
can do?
I like to start all my clients off with this very basic. This is actually what my Forbes article is about. So
Oh,
you
girl,
can get more,
yes, girl.
you
Forbes
can
article,
you
TED
can get
Talk, bring
that, like,
it.
listen, I'm like, let me give you all the information, and the Forbes article breaks this down, and it's a really easy way to get it all in one
Nice.
bite-sized piece.
Okay.
But I have a system called the 3S framework,
Okay.
and I recommend this for everyone. Like, no matter what you're doing, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're working in corporate, doesn't matter. It's a way to manage stress so that your brain doesn't keep you shut down in survival mode. So the amygdala will immediately put you into, so I guess it's helpful to understand what the survival brain response looks like. So this just on a very basic surface level, when there's a threat, which by the way, the brain cannot tell if you're being 5 minutes late for an appointment or if you're being chased by a wild animal. It thinks both are a
Mm.
death threat. So it's
Okay.
just black and white.
Okay.
So that part of the brain is very primal. And so it senses stress and it thinks, okay, we're going to die. We're going to start getting rid of every system in the body. We're going to shut everything off that we don't need if we're not getting ready to fight a wild animal or to run away. So you lose access to your higher level thinking. You lose access to your executive functions. Your digestive system kind of goes on hold. It's why we get like a stomach, problem when you're
Mm-hmm.
nervous about something or
Mm-hmm.
stressed. Your gut goes on hold. Your reproductive system, everything goes on hold anytime there's stress. And if you look at our society and you look at how tied to devices we are,
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're always kind of under attack in the eyes
Mm-hmm.
of our survival
Mm-hmm.
brain. So then what it also does is it revs up the systems that you need if you're about to fight something or
Mm-hmm.
if you're about to run away. So your heart pounds, your breath gets short and your body might tense up. And then we have headaches and tension, migraines and all kinds of things. And we walk around like this all the time. And if you don't know these 3 steps that I'm about to say, you're not going to necessarily even notice it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is just to notice it, but I'm going to give you the 3 S's. This is the system. The first stands for safety. Safety means if you know that you are in a stressful situation that is a trigger,
Mm-hmm.
then you put the situation on hold. So like I have some clients who are working, in corporate still, and they'll have an issue with a boss or a coworker, and I just tell them go to the bathroom, take 3 deep breaths. 3 deep
Mm-hmm.
breaths resets the survival system. We
Mm-hmm.
don't really know why it's 3, but it is 3 deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear that pretty frequently. Once you get safety, then that's kind of like you're off the battlefield. So
Okay.
then your brain starts to get the message, okay, we just took some deep breaths. We couldn't do that if we were running to the nearest tree to
Okay.
chase for,
Okay.
to get away from the saber-toothed cat. So once you do that, then you turn your attention to your body and you nurture. I say self-care is the second step, or self-nurturing, but those terms don't mean a lot unless you know what I'm talking about. So nurturing your 5 senses. It can be as easy and as simple as making a cup of your favorite drink, smell
Mm.
it, taste it. You're covering 4 out of 5 senses if you make like a nice warm cup of tea or
Make a
something.
nice little matcha.
Oh, yeah, just a
Yeah.
little something. Enjoy it, be mindful in the moment. Show your brain we are safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third step is to connect with a safe person. So, safe support is step number 3. The reason we need that is because when we are in survival mode, the brain thinks no matter what, if you're isolated in that moment, if you're not connecting with someone in that moment that's very safe for you,
Mm-hmm.
it assumes that you've been siphoned off from the herd and that you're susceptible to be prey. So
Wow.
if you can reconnect that part of your brain and get connected with someone that's very safe for you,
Yeah.
it automatically, because you know how good it feels to just call a friend
Mm-hmm.
and check in at the end of a really long, hard day.
Yeah.
It soothes something inside of us
Yeah.
because humans were hardwired for connection.
Yeah.
And so that is the final piece. And I recommend doing the 3 S's in that order:
Okay.
safety, self care, and support. Once you get to support, which by the way is the hardest thing for women, like it, even though we are connectors, to actually not feel like a burden when you reach out to someone takes work. It
Mm-hmm.
takes
Mm-hmm.
skills. You have to practice it, but it
Yeah.
absolutely helps.
And staying in a calm conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Good. Okay.
So that's where you start.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Perfect. Okay. Take me on. Let's talk about you and your. I didn't know about the Forbes article.
Yes, that was like oh my gosh, it was in the middle of recovering from like when
Oh,
I left my bad
good for
situation
you,
and all
girl.
this different stuff. It was a surprise and a shock. It was just literally kind of like the hand of God just touching my life.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I mean, I'm telling you, Mapuana, like I didn't know what was possible. First of all, I had no idea that I would get a Forbes article out of, because I did this PR process that um I kind of came into through a back door. It was really interesting and it was just so divine. And then I had a friend who was like, "Hey, you just got a Forbes article. You should do a press release." And I was like, "Cool, what's that?" I don't know what that is. And because she owns a company and they like do press releases. She has like a big
Yeah.
event that she does. She's like, "Oh, I'll just give you my PR person," and they like write an email and they send it out to the the media companies. I'm like, "Okay." So I did that, like I just paid somebody like a couple $100 and did a press release. And I was like, I guess this is what you do. And I got a spot on the morning news for the regional TV station. And so they did a segment, and I was like, my heart was in my throat. I was like, I should not be here. Like,
You're
what am
like,
I
I need the three
doing?
steps. What are
What
my
are the
three
3 steps?
steps?
Dang it, I forget the 3 steps. I need my 3 S's. So I was like, my sister was there with me. She was being my wing woman. I was like,
Oh
I
my
do not know.
gosh.
And I'm comfortable speaking in front of people. Like, that's a
Yeah.
happy place for me. I
Yeah.
was not okay that day.
Oh my gosh.
And I look back and I have been on Fox 59 Morning News like more than 2 dozen times. Like
Good for
it's
you,
like something
girl.
they kept asking me back. And I look back at that first time and it was so special because I was just willing to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable because I had been through so much hard stuff that it was like, you know what? I've been through hard stuff just for the sake of it being hard that did not have a good like a
Yeah.
good outcome necessarily. I can do hard things with a good outcome,
Oh
and this is
yeah.
going to have a good outcome. So
Yeah.
I just look back on that first segment. Like I'll go back and watch it every now and again and be like, "Oh, I love her. She's so cute."
Oh.
So
Oh.
that really launched things for me. And then in this past year, my healing process. So when I left the bad situation, it was maybe 7 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
and now my son is like almost 10. He was a toddler at the time, and we've been through so much, but our life is so good now. And in the last
Yeah.
18 months or so, I feel like I have really just come home to who I was meant to be.
Oh yeah. Girl, even in the last 6 months.
Girl, yeah,
I'm
just since
like,
we
look at
met.
you, girl.
Oh.
You know, I used to be in a really bad relationship too. I got married at
Mm.
19, I got divorced at 26. And
Mm.
I remember when I left that relationship, I knew anything is better than this.
Yes.
Anything is better than this, and I don't care. I'm out,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of when, God, the universe, like, take away the other choices. Like
Yeah.
you just, there's this concept. I don't know how much you know about eagles, but I love eagles. Like it's like eagles and butterflies are like my two things that I
Oh.
hold on to. But eagles do this thing where they have a nest that's really high up and it's made of briars. So it's made of like, brambles, like pokey, pointy things. When they lay their eggs in it though, the mother plucks her own down and puts it in the nest to make it soft for the eggs.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I don't know why it's so emotional, but I'm like, that's so beautiful, mama. And so
Yes.
she makes it soft for the eggs when the babies are ready to fly because it's so high up. I'm sure they're terrified little guys. Like, I don't know. She like teaches them how to fly. She shows them, but then she starts taking the feathers out of the nest until they don't want to be in the nest anymore.
Oh.
And this is how God has helped me through my whole life. Like when the feathers are gone, I know that it's like time. Or when I start to feel the feathers being pulled away, it's like, okay, this is it. I know I'm ready to fly because He wouldn't be taking the feathers out if I wasn't.
Yeah. And you went down to your last feather and you're like,
I was down to my
okay.
last feather, man. I've never let the feathers get that thin since then, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
You're like, I like it
when,
soft.
I like it to be soft and I will move on before it gets
Yeah.
unsoft, okay?
I will create my own bed.
Yes, exactly. Like, oh, this is not soft anymore. Okay, where are we going next? Let's
Oh
go.
my
Yeah, you
gosh.
get faster and faster at it, especially if you
Yeah,
can calm your survival system on purpose.
totally.
Because when you can do that on command, you're unstoppable. Like
Yeah,
there's nothing that can throw you off when you know who you are
yeah.
and when you know how to work with the part of your brain that's scared of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you do that for your TED Talk? Did you do the
Oh,
three steps?
girl.
You're like,
I
all day,
did the
every day,
three.
3 steps.
I was doing all the things. I was doing like trauma work. I was doing like somatic work. I was
Oh
like
my
doing breath work.
gosh.
I was doing all the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
That process was one of the hardest processes I've been through. Not as hard as what I went through
Yeah.
emotionally
Yeah.
before in my personal
See,
life,
but
but
once you go through that, that's what I mean. Once you go through that, anything
anything is
and
better.
everything is
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Even if you got to get up on stage,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Anything and
Yes.
everything is better than that.
Yeah. And there's so much gratitude too.
Yes.
Like when you know that you are on your purpose, like that
Yeah.
you're doing what you were meant to do,
Yeah.
whether that's in your personal life, in your professional life. I mean, I was so connected with the message I wanted to bring because
Mm-hmm.
my talk is called Why You Procrastinate and How to Stop It for Good. And I have so many women that come to me and they're just like, well, I'm just a, fill in the blank
Mm-hmm.
procrastinator. And in this case, procrastination was something so universal. I was like, I can tackle that in a TEDx talk and help
Mm-hmm.
people set themselves free. And so I was so passionate. And I was just like, if there's one woman that can get set free from hearing this, this is worth it. Like, what kind of life, a charmed life, am I living that I just get to, for my job, go and set other women free? And so when I came off of the TEDx stage, like it was I bombed the rehearsal the night before. I like stopped in the middle of my talk, could not get started again. I felt like the biggest hot mess. And I was like, no one's going to believe that I'm a speaker, like this, why did I crash and burn in my TEDx rehearsal? But I realized that it's because it was the first time I had shared about the abusive relationship that I was in
Yeah.
any sort of public capacity. And that was just a few months ago. So once I realized I had to hack my own brain out of that because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I could get to stage and I could feel it's interesting when when you fine tune the skill of noticing yourself,
Mm.
you can tell when you're about to drift out of being present. And I could tell when it was happening during the rehearsal. And it was a new experience for me to be able to see it so clearly. So the next day during the actual talk, I could see it starting to happen at the same place where I was starting to tell about the trauma.
Wow.
And I wasn't even going into detail the way that I did yesterday
Yeah.
in the talk at Powerhouse, but I was just sharing about it on a universal stage. Like that's on YouTube, guys.
Yes.
That's like anyone can look that up and it could be public knowledge.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, are we ready for that? And so when I got to that place in the talk, I could see my brain doing this. It was almost visual. It was like I could just see myself kind of stopping being present and stopping being in the moment and kind of like thinking about what are they going to think or thinking about
Mm.
am I going to be able to finish it. The self-doubt just starts to creep in naturally because your
Mm-hmm.
brain is like,
Mm-hmm.
we are dying. And
Yeah.
my brain was like, we're on fire.
Everyone's looking at me.
Everybody get down. We're going going to be attacked.
Drop and roll.
Oh my gosh, get off this stage. And I was like, oh, like fighting my body to stay there.
Yeah.
But I could see it starting to happen. And so I did do the 3 S's like right in that moment. And
Yeah.
I think I just took a deep breath and I started to stumble over my words just a little. And you can see it in the talk. And I talk about this freely. So like, it's funny to be like, now everyone's going to go watch and be like, can I tell where it's happening? You'll be able
Yeah.
to tell.
Yeah.
But in that moment, that was the moment where I like found a new part of myself because I
Oh,
stumbled on stage and got it back. And I
yes.
slayed the rest of the talk.
Yeah.
And I walked off that stage, and there was a woman backstage who worked at the university where I was giving the talk. She was crying.
Oh.
And I was just hugging my friend that was back there. She's my photographer. And I was like hugging her, and I was so excited. And then this woman just kind of like gently comes up to me, and she's like, "Can I just tell you what that did for me?" I was like, it I wasn't really even thinking about how other people would have taken it at that point. I wasn't even really thinking about how did it land with other people. I just knew that I had done what I came to do and I felt complete.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was waiting for me backstage, she said, I've been in an abusive relationship. She said, I thought like your speech made so much of my life make sense for me. And
Mm.
I now understand that I have been through trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me so much hope that things could be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hugged her and we both cried. And then I walked out into the auditorium. I could not even get to where my family was because people were stopping me. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my gosh, me becoming my best in that moment
Mm-hmm.
was the key to them getting what they needed.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm so passionate about helping
Mm-hmm.
women do this
Mm-hmm.
because if we can get out of our own way, there's no limit to the amount of good we can do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And to watch a woman, for me, to watch you live your purpose, to do the things that you're doing, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by all the things that you're doing, and
Thank you.
just to watch you go through all of it. But it's almost like there's your fear, like it never goes away. There's your fear, but then there's your purpose and all the things that you do. And when your purpose is louder than your
Mm.
fear, it's still going to be there. You're just like, no, I got this. And like, even if that fear, little talk is mumbling in the background or whatever it is, it's like, no, this is what I'm here to do.
Yes.
And even if I'm scared, I'm still going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if like I'm up there shaking and my words are trembling, like I'm here for a bigger purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
To connect with your purpose is such a beautiful experience, but
Yeah.
it's so often the key to that lies next to your biggest hardship. And so
Yeah.
going through what you've been through, all of us have been through, hardship and pain, and it just depends. Like, your variety is different than my variety, even though we both had abusive relationships. So it's like whatever that is part of the secret sauce that it takes to unleash what's really in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All of this stuff is so great. I just love it. Okay, we're here at Arizona, and she just did an amazing talk. She got off the stage in front of 800 women,
Yes.
which is so amazing. Lindsay does
It's,
such a great job at that.
oh, it was unbelievable. The energy in that room was
Oh,
just
yes.
electric.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about that experience.
Well, I tell you what, it's interesting because last year I also auditioned and didn't get chosen.
Okay.
And so I was just actually speaking with someone where that was her experience this year. And we were kind of talking about like it's hard because rejection, one thing that she said is rejection is redirection. And I think that's so
Mm.
powerful. And also, rejection is what points you toward the next right thing. And so for
Mm-hmm.
me last year, coming to the event, having not gotten chosen, it was like, you kind of just shake it off and you're like, and it,
It's like,
and it was
okay.
an unbelievable experience last year. It
Yeah.
was really, really
It
wonderful.
just means not right
It
now.
just means not right now.
Yeah.
And so to go for it again this year, I was just in a totally different space because I'm a whole different person than I was 1 year
Yeah.
ago. I've never changed so quickly as I have in the last 12 months. And so I feel like I'm on a fast track to just being
Same.
my full self. Yeah, absolutely. Your transformation since we met. I
Yeah.
mean, we both have leaped and bounded over
Yeah.
where we thought we would be. So when I got chosen, I was holding it just kind of like this because I'm so
Mm.
connected right now with this space. Lindsay calls it the gap season.
Yes.
That's really where I've been. I've been clearing things out, doing things one at a time instead of 10 at a time. And it feels very scary. I've had to really work my own process that I teach in order to regulate my nervous system for
Mm-hmm.
moving this slowly, but in such a quantum way.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain unless you've experienced it, but when you slow down because you are convicted that this is where your center is and that you're confronting the parts of you that can't go with you to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
There's something sort of dark and lonely, and there's also something so hopeful and peaceful. And so when you're doing things in that phase, it is the best practice just to hold everything very loosely, because what I thought I knew or what I thought was part of me might be something that doesn't go with me to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had auditioned for this talk, I was like, okay, I'm putting my heart out there, because you don't go through scared. Like, I mean, you could be scared, but you don't go through acting like you're scared. You still boldly do the things that you are intending to do. Like, you set your intention and you carry it through, right? But the way that you let go and release it and just allow what's meant to happen is kind of the superpower in
Mm-hmm.
this period
Mm-hmm.
of time. And
It's
so,
like what's meant for me will be for me.
and it won't go to anybody else.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when I found out, Lindsay DM'd me a few days after the contest ended. She's like, "You've been chosen." And I was like, "Oh my goodness. Like, thank you, God. This is unbelievable." And all the past versions of me that I feel like I carry them with me,
Yeah.
like we're all okay now and I've taken care of them and they took care of me. Like, all of those past versions, the mom that left, the abusive
Mm-hmm.
situation and that took the baby and that helped him recover and that made the business, made the life, we have like an amazing place that we live now. And it was something I manifested not much more than a year ago. And it's just like all of those versions of myself were present in this moment. And it was like, wow.
And she's standing there so proud of you.
Wow.
Like, look
Yeah.
where we've
Look
been.
where
Look
we
where we've come.
are,
Look where we
babe. Look where we
are.
are.
Look how far we've come.
Mm-hmm. And even
Yeah.
the way that Lindsay wanted us to do
Yeah.
the talks, for TEDx, you memorize that stuff. Like, you
Yeah.
memorize
What is like 13 minutes or 12 minutes or
so
something?
the process that she wanted. Okay. So, yeah. So even so for TEDx, you memorize it, and the max is 18 minutes. At this
Okay.
particular event that I did, they wanted us to shoot for 10,
Okay.
and they were going to cut us off at like shortly after that if we didn't stop by that stop talking at that point. So it was like lots of rules and regulations and memorization, and it's very much like you memorize it and it's a performance.
Okay.
Which is amazing because that serves a really good purpose, for someone, whatever your intentions are with your TEDx talk. It serves a great purpose to actually do it the, quote, right way, to actually memorize and perform it and have the slides that are very minimal and all of that. It's really great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard. And so,
I could not do it. I'm like a whole
yeah,
speech in
yeah,
that amount of time. I'd be like, wait, where am I? What part?
right.
Am I in the beginning, in the front? I forgot
And
this
like I
part.
did theater, but when I was younger, so like I
Yeah.
can memorize lines, but you're interacting with someone and you have prompts all around you. And for this, you're just standing and looking at the audience, and you can kind of glance at your slides, but you're not supposed to have a lot on there, not a lot of words, not a,
Yeah.
so it's just, and 10 minutes is like three pages, 3.5 pages of memorized script.
Wow.
So
That's a lot
it's a
to
lot.
memorize.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
to do it in front of all the people, it was amazing. And I'm so glad I did
Yeah.
it. But this was such a different experience because when I met with Lindsay, she's like, "I don't want you to memorize anything. I want
Mhm.
you to speak from your heart. And I would love for you to tell about your story, about how you
Yes.
left." And I was like, okay, this will be the first time I'm actually telling the details of that story. And this feels like the safe place to do it.
Yeah.
So I just was prepping, and it's interesting. I really have so much respect for Lindsay and how she processes
I
things.
just love her.
Oh gosh, she's the best. So I was watching her stories one day, and it was earlier this week, and she didn't have everything that she wanted to say like
Yeah.
already established, and she was like, "I used to feel like that was me being lazy." But what I've realized now is that is the way that I like to do things. It's the process that works best for me. And that gave me permission to let this talk come into its maturity on its own time. And I really believe that it has its own life. It's
Mhm.
like but I had a 5 minute limit on how, so that was it was a little hard to just
Yeah.
say your whole heart
Everything
in
in
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a countdown timer and you're just watching it, and it's like, the cane's gonna come out and pull you off stage if you
The crazy clown
Like,
is gonna come
okay,
from
yeah,
the back and
I
scare you off.
know. And your brain's like, something's chasing us. It's gonna eat us. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, the whole time.
Uh,
But really for me, it finally settled into place the day of. So I had
mm,
practiced it a lot and kind of, made notes and then made shorter notes and then got it down to bullet points and all of that. But my brain, just being here, and I was doing other stuff. I was doing
yeah.
photo shoots. I was doing, the VIP night and different things. And so my brain was just like, I need to wait until there's nothing else happening. And so I was like, okay. So not too long before the actual talk, I just was able to get quiet and it just fell into place.
Mm,
So I had it, but I like had it a couple
mhm,
hours before I
mhm.
actually gave the talk. And to be able to go on stage, okay, first of all, can we talk about how gorgeous that was? The whole event was so well produced and
Yeah, oh
so
yeah.
special. And
Yeah.
the way Lindsay introduced me at the beginning, like
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to cry because this is something I've already healed from. You share your scars,
Yeah.
not your,
Not your
yeah,
wounds.
not your wound.
Yeah.
But when she started talking about the way that she's seen me grow, I was like not prepared for that. So I'm like
Yeah.
boohooing in the back before I even walked to the front.
Yeah.
I was like,
Girl,
what
I'm in the
am
audience boohooing. I'm like,
Oh
oh. And there's a moment where Lindsay reaches her
my
hand to
god.
you, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like,
And
I
that's
will cry
really,
right now
I
just thinking of
know,
it. Yeah. Yeah.
that's exactly it. And it was so special because there was just this, she's such a special person to
She
connect with on
is.
any level.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's so careful with the energy that she gives, and she wants to
Mm-hmm.
bring everything she's got, but only in the exact right
Mm-hmm.
times so that
Mm-hmm.
she can steward it well.
Mm-hmm.
She stewards her gift beautifully. And to have been on the receiving end of her being focused on me and my growth for the amount of time, and for her to trust me on that stage, I think that's what really, it wasn't even like, I'm a speaker and this was another talk that
Mm-hmm.
I gave and it was very prestigious. It's like the amount of trust that she put in me to give me her audience for five
Yeah.
minutes and trust me to pour into them in a way that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
That shifted something in me more even than doing the talk itself.
Mm-hmm.
So then walking onto that stage, and I wasn't even planning to take a breath, but I was just like, I just want to, I started the talk with like come into this moment with me. And that
Yeah.
wasn't planned. And it was just like, oh, the moment is here. Like, come here.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful for me to experience that. And then the audience was just, gosh, you guys were so supportive. And
Yeah.
it was an incredible experience to get to tell the story the way I told it in such an expedient amount of time.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
5 minutes and
And
go.
you thought your TED talk was like, you're like, oh gosh, now I'm down to half of
Exactly
that.
half of that. I mean, honestly, that's what makes the best speakers is the people
Yeah.
who can like put
Yes,
their
totally.
keynote
For
into a
sure.
3-minute TV
Yeah. And
segment or
get to all
something.
the points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just felt really honored, very humbled. The fact that all of you guys were there watching and cheering, and I just felt so connected to everyone that I was speaking with.
Yeah.
And I had so many women come up to me afterward and say, I left a relationship, or
Yes.
this gave me permission, or, thank you for sharing this. And, how did you help your son? Or what did you, how
Mm-hmm.
old is your child now? And what was that like? And how do you help people? So it was just, it really struck a chord with so many of the women in the audience that came up
Mm-hmm.
afterward and wanted to share their story, which is like the most sacred exchange,
Yeah.
when someone wants to share their story with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you can see how much it affected them,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very special.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Tell me about what are you doing next? Like what's your next big goal? So you did the Forbes, you did
Yeah.
TED Talk, you did
I'm launching.
Powerhouse Women.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so.
What
If
is
you had told me a
next?
year ago that this is where I'd be like,
Oh
what
my
are you doing?
gosh. Yeah.
So I am launching a podcast in
Yes,
January.
girl, yes. Welcome to Podcast Land. I'm so excited for this. Okay,
Yeah.
January.
January is when it's going to
Perfect.
launch. Yeah, we're
Okay.
recording over the next few months. We've got our guests starting to get lined up
Oh
and
my
things like
gosh.
that.
Yes.
And then the goal shortly after that is to write a book. So the book will be coming. And yeah, 2025 is going to be an exciting year. I'm really excited. People have been asking me for a podcast for a while, which is such an honor, when people like really want to
Yes.
hear from you.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just need Elyssa in my pocket. And I'm like, all right, guys, like let's do it.
Yes.
Let's have some
Yeah.
fun with this.
Podcasting is fun. It is fun. You get
Mm,
to connect. It's like hanging out with girlfriends.
so
There's
good.
cameras, but it's like
Yeah.
it's almost not
We
even
don't care about
there.
the cameras.
Yeah.
No, I love that. So you've inspired me with that. And there are so many other women that I know who are just incredible podcasters. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so I see people doing it. It expanded me. And now I'm ready to step into that.
I am so excited for that. And then
Thank
a
you.
book, possibly a
A book,
book.
yep. And
Yeah.
I've got a mastermind that I'm going to
Yes.
be doing. We're hosting a live retreat for an in-person retreat in January for the new mastermind that I'm launching in a month. And
Tell me about the
so we've got
mastermind.
yeah, I mean, girl, like if you like the energy in the room yesterday, this mastermind is going to be basically it's going to be for female founders, so women who own their own businesses. And we are going to it's called the Chrysalis Collective. So if you know
Wow.
what a chrysalis is, it's the little pod that a butterfly spins for itself before its wings come in. And I think most of the women who are attracted to my message, we're all working on ourselves.
Mm.
We're all inside the cocoon. We're growing, we're changing, we're transforming into something different. Even Lindsay's outfit yesterday, she said that it's giving butterfly
She
season
had the
because
one
I have
butterfly
one
wing.
butterfly wing. Yeah, so I think all of us relate to this becoming. The journey of on becoming, right?
Yeah.
Journey on, right? I'm saying
Yeah.
it right.
Journey on
Journey on
becoming
becoming.
the job.
Yeah, the job.
Yeah.
We're all ready for our wings,
Yeah.
and the way there is with each other. And that's what
Yes.
this mastermind is
Yes.
about. It's based on an idea that came to me about a year ago that I've been experimenting with a smaller group, where it's a group of four of us. We're on a Voxer group together, and we just met last year through business and decided to try this to see if we support each other through Voxer and we talk kind of daily. We've now gone through, like, one of the women's had a double mastectomy. One of them has
Mm.
just been through a massive breakup. Like, another one, has been dealing with some healing that she's doing. And also, we're all hiring each other, referring each other to other hires. Like, we're all running our own businesses and elevating, like, leg up, leg
Mm-hmm.
up, leg up. So I was like, okay, is someone doing that with a mastermind? Like, I want like 6 months container with the same women, small group feel,
Mm-hmm.
big group connections. What is that like? Well, I haven't found anybody that's doing it based on the inner work that I want to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided to create it. And there's a bigger group, that's involved. I mean, it's going to be maxed at, 12 to 15 women, but it's a small group approach. So there you'll be matched with 3 to 4 other women owners of businesses and at the right level of business. And I'm just gonna carefully curate the chemistry, and
Mm-hmm.
then there will be some coaching with me, and then we have the in-person retreat. So I'm incredibly excited about it. It's gonna just elevate everyone because the support, that
Mm-hmm.
safety, self-care, and support, we're
Yeah.
going to have all three of those in the mastermind because we're going to all be nurturing our bodies. There's going to be luxury aspects to the
I
mastermind
love
where you'll
that.
get to benefit from all kinds of good, juicy things that we're pouring into the members.
Yeah. Well, if you want to come to Hawaii and host a retreat, I have great places. I got some
Girl,
really,
that might be our
yeah.
second retreat next year. The one
Mm-hmm.
in January is going to be
Yeah.
in Cancun. And we have, oh
Ooh,
my gosh,
okay.
private chef, villa,
Oh,
beachfront.
girl, yes,
Like, let's
yes.
go.
There's a house. It's called Lotus Rising Retreat, and
Ooh.
I think it sleeps like 16
That's
women.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
it's
Oh my
beautiful. You
gosh.
watch the
Okay.
sunrise
You
over
and
the
I are going to talk
ocean.
about
Yeah,
this. Maybe
yeah,
that's our fall retreat next year.
yeah, yeah.
Girl.
I'll come be your private
Oh,
chef.
oh my gosh. Yes. Come be my private chef. You could be our photographer, whatever you want to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. So, okay, I love what Lindsay did yesterday, and she had asked people like, "How can we pour into you? Like, what can I do for
Mm.
you? Or how
Oh,
can I
thank
what
you.
can I do to help you or pour into you? Or if someone's watching, what can they do to pour in?"
Oh, thank you so much. That's a great question. I don't know why I haven't thought about that question until this minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if people were going to support me.
Yeah, how can we support you?
You know, um, honestly, the if anyone knows of people who are looking for a speaker where
Yes.
the message about the survival brain would be helpful, particularly to women who are business owners, that would be an incredible connection for me because that is I want to get this message out so far and wide. And I know that working with groups of women and being able to present these ideas to groups is the fastest way to do that. So that would be amazing. Other than that, when my podcast comes out, we
Yes.
could maybe do another episode or something when it comes to
Yeah,
that point. We
totally.
could talk about it.
Yeah.
But connecting with me on Instagram would be an amazing way that people could also support, just to follow,
Okay.
kind of check out what I'm doing over there
And where do they go for Instagram?
at Elyssa C. Smith, Elyssa C. Smith.
Perfect. And then what about if they want to sign up for the mastermind?
Oh, yeah. It's actually all the info is there on my Instagram. They can go to ElyssaSmith.com and the
Perfect.
information will be there too. But
Okay.
Instagram is where I'm primarily active.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much. I loved having you here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. And I
much.
loved cheering you on yesterday
I
and just
so
seeing you
appreciate.
shine,
Oh,
girl. It like filled my heart so much. I was like,
mm,
yes, girl, you go.
thank you.
Yeah.
I so
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And yeah, go follow Elyssa and all the fabulous things that she is doing. I will see you in the next episode.